Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Torchwood Big Finish audio drama review. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest release as a part of the Torchwood monthly range at Big Finish, in particular Sigil, as written by Ash Darby, featuring the final performance of Murray Melvin as the one and only Billis Manger. This release is of course available to order now from the Big Finish website in both physical CD and digital download formats, and it can also be purchased as part of a bundle alongside the most recent Torchwood main range releases. Something of which that is also worth noting is that due to this being a Torchwood audio drama, this release may contain adult material which will not be suitable for younger listeners. Now sadly, of course, earlier on this year, Murray Melvin did sadly pass away, so this is his final performance as a part of the Big Finish Torchwood series, and it is lovely for him to have one final outing within the range, and boy does the series end in style. This release has all of the brilliant spooky stuff that you come to expect from a Billis story, making for a true audio drama immersive experience, and one of which that I definitely recommend, certainly if you've listened to the previous Billis stories. And if you've been intrigued by this rather ominous character, then where not best to begin than with this story. Now, in fact, earlier on this summer, I did take a look at Deadbeat Escape, the debut of Billis within the Torchwood main range, so it is rather fitting that within this short period of time that I am taking a look at both the beginning story, but also the final story as well. So if you haven't checked out that review, I highly recommend doing so, because again, it's another brilliant release, and in fact, one of my favourite Torchwood releases of all time, which basically sell just how brilliant Murray Melvin is as Billis, and why he is a character that you should certainly give a chance if you haven't already, because you're definitely missing out if you haven't. Sigil, as written by Ash Darby, featuring the final outing of Billis Manger, and what a delight it is. For those watching this review a while after the official release of this story, the Torchwood main range release 74, amongst others from mid-2023, were rather mysterious, as listeners had absolutely no idea what these releases would hold within them, due to the contents basically being revealed right on the day of release. Sigil was in fact announced, the cast was revealed, the trailer was published, the synopsis unveiled, the cover art even unveiled, and put out into the world all within the same day. Meaning what was going to be a rather bland, foggy Thursday morning was happily interrupted by the lovely Billis, and naturally I cancelled all of my non-existent plans to experience this story. Sadly, Murray Melvin passed away earlier in 2023, marking this story being one of the last episodes that he contributed to the Big Finish Torchwood catalogue. I do believe that it was recorded around the same time as Torchwood Series 7, Episode 7, Cuckoo, as written by Tim Foley, a story of which that I have listened to and loved, although I haven't got around to releasing the review of that just yet. So do of course keep your eyes peeled for a review of the Torchwood continuation series in the near future. Just like most Torchwood main range releases, this Billis tale can be experienced having not heard any of his other stories, and once more it's packed to the brim with mysterious moments and spooky happenings. So Sam is wandering around Cardiff city centre when she comes across a shop of timepieces, where a statue of a bird decorated with a specific symbol catches her eye. A symbol of which that she has been obsessed with since early childhood, and one that she constantly drew, thinking it was something that was simply attached to her mind. And yet here is the symbol for everyone to see on an old bronze statue. The owner of the shop is naturally the one and only Billis Manger, and here a relationship is sparked between the two, with the possibility of uncovering the mystery. Except Billis is reluctant to help. His clocks are rebelling against him, as he puts it, and he wishes to look after those instead. Ah dear, to have someone in life who cares about you and looks at you in the same way that Billis looks so intently at his timepieces, now that is a life goal. Samantha therefore takes it upon herself to investigate the old mystery. It's really pleasant seeing Ash Darby centralise this story around Billis and his timepieces shop. It's after all where we first met the character within the TV series, and completely unintentionally, it's also sadly where that journey comes to an end for us listeners. But that's the thing with Billis, he always lives on, undefeated and watching over. Sam is also in a relationship with Emelle, but said relationship is under quite a lot of strain. She's focusing on her art style of life, whilst Emelle hopes for her to get a proper job, saying that in reverse quote marks. It's interesting seeing this relationship struggle, and it's been brought to life in a really perfect way, showcasing how people can be within a relationship and can be together, but still have two very different career outlooks, which I don't think is represented within media too often. They do often say that opposites attract. I think that this story is an interesting representation of that, but also the struggles which come with it. Especially when Sam starts looking more deeply into the mystery, it's clear that she's getting a bit obsessed, triggering hallucinations and bad dreams, which Billis definitely has nothing to do with. Angus Imrie portrays this struggling boyfriend well, but also effectively portrays that short-sighted belief that he has, failing to see things from Sam's perspective, who's much more about creativity and making art that she can sell to people, the art of which that just so happens to feature the exact same sigil. Likewise, Gabrielle Brooks embodies the mystery with so much energy and intrigue. When paired alongside the less loud and more traditional approach of Billis, they make for a great pairing to listen to. So now then, we have the one and only Mr. Murray Melvin. For those who have had the pleasure of hearing Billis on audio before, you will know exactly what to expect from within this story. Murray Melvin captivates with every single line and scene. He's both a protagonist and an antagonist, flitting between this warm and caring figure to the sheer evil and cruelty. He's the expert manipulator, and the manipulated don't even realise it. Murray Melvin's performance is one that simply cannot be replicated. He brings his own personal charm to the character, and that passion creates a character that not only has presence, but carries the story and everything within it. As a listener, you must accept a lot of ambiguity when it comes to Billis' stories. He appears, stirs the pot a little bit, and then leaves the others to figure out exactly what's going on, and then he kind of giggles to himself in the corner as the character's fate is slowly unveiled to them. Again, he's very cruel, but I love it. It's a very similar situation to that of the Torchwood continuation series, where all of his appearances within that basically see Billis coming in, stirring the pot, causing a little bit of disaster, warning everyone but simultaneously not giving them any helpful information, and then giggling to himself ambiguously as he shuts the door behind him. He brings chaos everywhere he goes, but the chaos that he brings is so subtle and ambiguous, and he's just brilliant in every way. Lots of credit to Ash Darby too, providing the lines which allow Murray to have lots of fun. There's some great one-liners within this story, particular with regards to Billis seeing Sam and the technology of the younger generation, and perhaps how Billis is a little bit reluctant to take on said technology. There is also that extreme sense of power from Billis. He makes superiority an art form, and I love it in every single way. Also, thank you to Ash for making that particular thing Billis's mode of transport. It absolutely works, and it had me howling throughout, and you will have to listen to this story to figure out what said mode of transport is, because it's utterly brilliant. The whole mystery of the sigil, the story which surrounds it, and the previous owner of the statue also really intrigued me. Again, it makes complete sense, seeing how Ash has used time, the past but also the future, to present this rather Billis-themed mystery. Although I do think at the same time this style of story does differ a lot from the other Torchwood main range releases, in particular those stories which feature the original Torchwood Hub team. As with any Billis story, I do acknowledge that this style of story will not be for everyone. However, if you are someone who's listened and actually think, yeah, that's something that I could get on board with, then I definitely recommend experiencing this type of story. The mystery itself is quite intriguing, although due to the story kind of mentioning the past, we don't actually see the past unfolding, so I think if it was a Doctor Who story, we will probably be physically transported back to that time period. Instead, the story is rather nicely described by Emelle, as well as Sam, as they dig through sort of various sources. I do like that. It did very much feel like these amateur investigators, but at the same time, perhaps maybe that mystery or the things that went on, the events Billis in the past may be quite hard to immerse yourself within if you are a listener who perhaps likes a story that is more guided. I think that this episode did require quite a lot of concentration in order to be able to appreciate the various aspects of the mystery, particularly those things that went on historically within the episode, such as the Reverend that is referred to. Something of which that I do also notice when it comes to listening to Billis stories, and again, this is my personal experience, is that the episodes are brilliant to visualise within the mind. And I think that Billis is a character that has so much attention to detail, in particular when it comes to his timepieces and describing the passage of time, but also he's a character that doesn't particularly let much slip, so he describes a lot of things. I think that works incredibly well within the audio format, because you yourself kind of get entranced by the way Billis describes things. So I always find that the episodes that have him present within are always very visual. They're poignant stories which always stay in the mind. And I listened to this episode first thing on a morning because I was very excited that it was released. And I felt just completely taken by the story, and for 1 hour I was completely captivated by what was going on, and I felt like I was within this episode solving the mystery with the characters, but also at the same time keeping one eye on Billis, because as always he has something up his sleeve, and you know, maybe he knows more than he's letting on, but that says nothing. He's Billis Manger, of course he does. It's something that I've mentioned before, but I will do so again. The Doctor Who universe and Torchwood have been so lucky to have the presence of Murray Melvin. For me, the Billis stories have been a shining jewel in the crown of the Torchwood main range, and Murray leaves behind an irreplaceable footprint, and he will most certainly be missed. The end of this story is really fitting and adds to the mysterious theme that this story presents. Personally, however, I think Billis is always around, lurking in the shadows, attending to his timepieces, watching the pendulum sway from moment to moment. Or for eternity, exactly how he likes it. Thank you, Billis, and thank you, Murray Melvin. The adventures have been delightful. But also bloody terrifying.